Welcome to Actor Chat. I'm your host, Jason Bateman. Today we're talking with Bill Hader, star of Barry. Bill, thanks for joining us today.
Oh, thanks. Hi, I'm Bill. We're also with Actor Chat, and we're here with the Ozark star and director, Jason Bateman.
Pleasure. Pleasure. Bill, I drew the short straw, and I'm going to ask you the first question. Can you tell our audience at home, how did you first come to Barry?
Alec Berg, the co-creator, and I, just is one of those rare things you actually got set up by your agent, and it worked. Do you know what I mean?
Like
where
a
your
5-minute date?
Yeah, like, oh, you're gonna go have coffee with a guy. And you went, oh, okay. And so we went and had coffee, and we talked about ideas, and then we kept on talking about ideas. We would just go and meet for breakfast once a week.
Wait, so was this somebody that did you say your agent or your manager?
My agent.
Did your agent also represent Alec Berg? Yeah. These people.
They're just...
So here's a way I figure I can double dip. I'm going to want you to go out to breakfast, lunch, dinner, coffee. I don't care what the hell you do, but his name's Alec.
Yeah.
You guys figure out something to do. I can get both sides of it.
Yeah.
Subject matter's up to you.
Yeah, I don't care what it is. I just need...
These guys are rainmakers.
But it actually worked. You know, sometimes those happen and you meet the person, you go, cool, and then you just never speak to him. But that one...
I hear he's a good guy.
He's the best. You know, Silicon Valley, Curb Your Enthusiasm, Seinfeld, like he's working on all these things. So we hung out, we talked, and then we came up with this idea. And I remember saying, well, what if I was a hitman? And he went, oh, I hate hitmen. I hate the guy with the skinny tie and the two guns. It's just so lame. Holding it sideways and looking rad and all that. And I just went, no, but it would be me. And he went, oh, okay. Yeah, no, that's good. You know, so.
The reluctant, conflicted.
Yeah, just a dork. He was like, I go, me being me would be interesting, and not pushing it, you know, keeping it grounded or something. And he was like, oh, that's cool. I like that. And then we said, oh, he should be in an acting class because it was, you know, the thing he wants to do, he should be bad at.
And so did you think that the acting class and the whole sort of the Hader approach to being a hitman, and that he's reluctant, he's not super comfortable in it, that it would be like kind of a hitman and actor class would be sort of like this a base to kind of figure out basically a story about who somebody wants to become and sort of an identity thing?
Well, we didn't have that initially. It was actually, again, we pitched it to HBO, and I think Casey Boyes was the one who was like, oh, so he's taking an acting class so he can, because he's shut off emotion, the acting class is making him, he's learning how to be a human.
And you and I looked at each other
and
like,
went, exactly, yeah, no, it's totally what we meant to do. Yeah. What took you so long to figure that out, Einstein? Yeah, so that's how we came to it.
And did they give you 10 episodes right away? Or did you have to?
We had 8, and we just said, let's just do 8. We kind of like the small order. I don't know about you. We like the smaller order where you can kind of craft 30 minutes.
Right.
And the way we always describe it is I tend to build up. I kind of see it as one big story because I like movies.
Right.
So I just kind of go, oh, it starts here and it ends here.
Right.
And
chop
then
it up.
Alec goes, let's chop it into 8s. And we have another writer, Liz Sarnoff, who worked on
I've heard is not very good.
She's can barely speak English. No, she's amazing. Lost and Deadwood and things, and they were really helpful in teaching me of like, no, Bill, but each episode has to have its own arc. And each character has to have, you can't just make it a big story, and you know what I mean? Now, there's a lot of ways I can do this for you. One of them is I could stab him in the nut. That's something I did once, and I'm very comfortable doing it again. Was that a thing when you were doing Ozark of going, oh, I know we're headed to a place, and then how am I keeping the emotional track of all these characters? You have so much going on in that show.
Yeah, it was, we wanted to do basically like a 10-chapter movie, right?
Yeah.
So like a 600-page film, and trying to chop find where in this beginning, middle, and end where the natural chops would be into these little parts. And the original goal, intention was for me to direct all of them. That's why I wanted to do it. I wanted to sort of a glutton or a masochist, depending on how you look at the role of directing. I wanted to take on that challenge. And then as we got into budgeting and scheduling, we couldn't really create enough time to prep them all. So I ended up just directing the first two and the last two and hiring some people to do the middle three, or the middle three slots, because we do two at a time. But then that sort of that EP position, as you know, you've got that privileged position of oversight that a director has in film, where you can satisfy that creative challenge if you want to, and you do a great job on your show. I've seen 4 of the 5. I hear the 5 one is worth skipping, so I'm going to wait till 6.
I would just go straight to 8. Actually,
yeah, is it okay?
Yeah, you can follow it.
But yeah, chopping it all up into parts is kind of as opposed to just doing 10 episodes where it's just kind of a beginning, middle, and end of each one of those, and they're kind of standalone. Is a fun way to do a series, but that's more of a series as opposed to what we're trying to do, which is kind of like, as I said, one long movie and then earn a sequel. You know.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. Also, do you ever feel like that with the creative Ozark, everything, that was there ever a fear of, because there's like massive changes that go throughout those characters, and like what you're just describing of like normal television, the kind of thing is we're going to reset and try to keep this stuff the same. Do you know what I mean? At least I knew when we started doing Barry, Alec had come from this kind of Seinfeld world where he was like, oh, but if we do that, then everything changes. And it was like, yeah. Do you know? And that's kind of fair. The characters changes, the whole dynamic of the world can change, you know?
But you're shooting in order, right? So then you can sort of pivot and react to, well, this storyline is kind of working, or that's like not that compelling, or this character is not really, or this character is, and so let's write further and deeper into that one for towards the end of the season. So you can react to what's working and what's not, right? As opposed to, you know, cross-board them all and shoot them.
It's more like, it's like on, I guess what I'm saying is like on Seinfeld or something, you could never have like the apartment burned down.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
You couldn't
then all of Warner Brothers would be ablaze.
Then all of Warner Brothers would be ablaze. But I feel like there is this thing now, and I feel like both of our shows have it, where it's almost this kind of glee of like, no, that's different now. It's like, throw that out, and now it's this now. It's
you're
like,
kind of obligated to do that.
Yeah, you kind of go, no, we need to be on the run.
Right.
You know what I mean? Where a lot of things go, well, if they're on the, what happens? Where does it take place? And
right.
Do you know what I mean?
And that's, I think that is what the sort of premium cable or streaming audience is accustomed to and expects, which are these big plot or premise swings that are interesting to the audience. Like, oh God, how are they going to keep the show going now? And usually it manifests itself in killing a main character.
Well, the end of Game of Thrones, I went, don't wait, what happened? You know?
No,
they're all ghosts. I mean, I had no idea.
What?
You.
Marty, stop. We have to call the police.
I want you to forget it, okay? Or do you want to just role play it? Okay? I'm Detective whoever the and you're the wife of the top money launderer for the second largest drug cartel in Mexico. Go.
Jason Bateman.
Yep. Hi.
Bill Hader.
Sweet.
What's it like? What's the difference between doing comedy and drama? What's it like wearing the mask, the happy one?
Right.
But then, you know, there's the other, I don't know if you know, there's this thing, there's the comedy tragedy, there's these 2 masks. Mm-hmm. I have a tattoo of it on my back. But
it's
what's
really
it like?
Low.
It's very low.
Your tailbone.
It's a surprise.
And under it just says breathe.
Breathe. What's it like wearing the comedy mask, and what's it like? What do you like?
That's a great question, Bill.
Yeah.
Well, I'm a fella who doesn't really do, and I'm not trying to be falsely modest, but I don't do real funny stuff or real drama stuff with the characters that I play. I'm usually the guy standing next to the very funny guy or running away from the very scary guy. Mm-hmm. So there's not much of a big change for me in what I'm doing, what I really like to do is kind of be us. I like to be the audience. And so I'm really attracted to characters that are sort of the everyman or the straight man or the sane guy or really just a proxy for the audience. And it's probably why I'm drawn to directing as well, because like that lane is sort of the where the audience kind of has their in to what's going on. And as you know, as a director, you're kind of pulling all those levers and deciding what the audience is seeing and feeling and hearing and all that stuff. So it's not a huge difference for me, but I do get, I think what people mean when they say that comedy is harder than drama. I feel like that when I am asked to do something that's kind of wacky, that you have to still be believable.
Yeah.
And it's harder to be believable when your character is crazy.
Yeah.
It's a heightened bar of believability. Like, you know, I think it's simpler to just be real to react to a situation as opposed to reacting in a real way to a situation if you're batshit.
Yeah.
That's harder to do.
That's what was so nice about Arrested Development when I was watching that show, was realizing, and then starting to do this as a career and everything, how hard it is. What you're doing in the show is like everyone has all this stuff, like, and I've done it a lot as well, where like we were talking about earlier, being the bass in a thing.
Yeah, and Trainwreck, you did it just seamlessly. And that takes a lot of discipline as an actor. I'm sure you felt like,
yeah, where you go, can I go, you know, or go crazy here, and that doesn't work.
Right, but then you realize that, well, if I'm as crazy as the crazy characters, now we're all on Mars, and there's nothing weird about Martians on Mars. Like, I got to be Earth, and then all these Martians are hanging out around me / us, the audience. Then things comedically pop, I think.
Yeah, I do too.
You know how you and I talk all the time about my purpose?
You think acting could be your purpose?
I don't know. I just feel really motivated right now or something. Like, it made me feel really good.
Okay, but what about what we do together, Barry?
Being the lead on the show and trying to manage all the apparatus behind the scenes as well, and keep all the trains running and hire the directors and the actors and making sure the scripts are what you like. And do you find that that's more challenging than you thought or that you wanted, or is it just make it even more fun?
I find it fun because you know what it's like being when you're just the actor on a thing. And once you kind of understand how things work, it can like, I feel like that's when I started to become like slightly difficult or something. Because I was like, you know, we can shoot out that wall and be done.
Right.
You know what I mean? I'm like, why are we? I worked on a thing once where we'd shoot one person's coverage and then we'd turn around, hour reset on my coverage. And in the middle of shooting my thing, they go, oh my gosh, that's hilarious. She should do that. And they would turn back around, shoot her coverage, and go back to me.
Now you've missed dinner with the kids.
Yeah, and I go, guys, no, can we just, and it's a curse in a way of knowing how you can make things work. So that's a nice thing, but I enjoy it. I know it sounds corny, but I love being on set, and I like hanging with all the technicians. I love costume meetings. I like going to mixes. I love going to camera tests with the DP and going like, oh, here's this version, and I go, oh, that's cool, that's right. I love grabbing scenes from movies and watching and going like, how'd they do that?
Right.
And learning like, well, they're actually in a really long lens and they're back, and I go, oh, can we try that? And I don't know about you, but like as the nice thing about being an actor, I mean, I grew up wanting to be a director and a writer. I mean, like, very young age, that's my thing. I was like making short films and stuff, and then moved out to LA and I started acting, you know, and it was weird, taking improv classes and got SNL while I was taking an improv class.
Wow.
And then it's like this weird circuitous route where a lot of my friends growing up, when the first episode of Barry aired and it said directed by Bill Hader, the amount of my friends from high school went, dude, you did it! You know, that's so, hey, congrats! You know, like they knew that was an important thing. But I don't know if you relate to this, but I used to love the romanticism of like, you know, Stanley Kubrick wouldn't talk to Shelley Duvall when they were doing The Shining to get her into a place or whatever. And then I'm like, now that I'm acting, I'm like, you don't need to do that.
Right. Yeah.
Like, as an actor, it's all you have to do is you hire the person and you go, yeah, man, like, do your thing. And if it's not, you could go a little this way, a little that way, maybe. But
Yeah, how do you
that romanticism of it gets knocked out of you in a very healthy way, I think.
how do you what is your instinct when you see an actor? So when you're directing and you see an actor playing a scene in a way that is wildly different than how you had imagined it, either while you were prepping or maybe if you were actually writing it, is your instinct as a director to direct that actor to play it into the way that you have imagined it, or do you try to recognize the version of the scene and the character that actor is trying to do, and then your notes try to help them do that?
Yeah, it's kind of like, well, it's two things. One, you're going, you know, like anything, you're reacting to them in that moment, and sometimes great things come out of that. I've worked with actors where, you know, because, you know, like your show, Barry's very like, there's a very clear point to every scene, and this leads to this, so we need to hit these notes or whatever. But my attitude is like, as long as that information has been out, whatever you want to do. I mean, Stephen Root's a guy that every take you get something totally interesting and different.
So good.
We did a scene in one of the episodes where he tells me he's like, you got to kill this Marine. And I go, I can't kill a Marine. And he did 3 takes angry with me, standing up over me, angry with me. Well, that was great. Yeah, man. You know, and I was like, I'm good, you know? And he went, I go, try something. He goes, Bill, just stay standing. I went, all right. And he did one where he sat down and leaned in. He goes, hey, man, why don't we just, and he did it like this. And when they do that to you, you're not acting in that moment.
Right.
You go, and it did a different thing for me in a way. And I went, okay, yeah, no, that was great. And Alec Berg was at the Video Village with Hiro Murai, who directed that episode, and they went, that was awesome. And so giving people that freedom, because I don't know if you have the same experience where you know, directing actors, you want kind of the experience you would want as an actor,
Right.
you know? And I've had those experiences where they come out and go, you can do anything, just have fun. And then you do a couple takes and go, hey, can you?
On this one word, can you take a beat?
There's a comma there for a reason.
Yeah.
Okay, you know, and you go, okay, I'm a puppet for or you get a little frustrated, and so you just go, I don't want to put anybody through that.
Yeah, I'm just a big advocate of letting people do that which you've hired them to do. As long as everybody has a mutually agreed upon finish line, whether they're actors or crew members or whatever, you want them to have the right to exercise their instinct as creative people. Like how you get to A to Z is totally up to you. Just know we're starting at A and ending at Z.
Yeah.
It's I really like being able to establish and maintain that vibe on the set.
And is it hard when you have to do a big dramatic scene like the scene in the pilot where essentially you set up the show?
Yeah.
And you're directing. What's that like? Because I remember going, God, he's directing this and he has to give a ton of, you got a lot of, not to say, but you got a lot to say in that scene. You got a lot of words.
It's a long speech.
You got a long way. You got to be, I'm just putting myself in your shoes. Okay, I'm directing this. I'm on my knees. I just watched this guy kill everybody. Right. There's no reason he should let me live. He's about to kill me, and I have to literally convince him not to kill me, and basically set up the show. Right. And you do it seamlessly by not. I thought what I loved about that was it wasn't pushed at all. It wasn't a begging. It was like, oh, this guy's doing his job. This is what he's good at. He's giving facts. He's kind of going, I latched onto something. But my question is, in that moment, how do you after that, you do that? Do you go, I felt good, or how do you?
Yeah,
guys
well,
feel
you can feel. It's probably why you enjoy the directing so much, is because acting is so comfortable for you. So it allows you to just be open to the other parts of the process. Like that jib's kind of moving over there,
Yeah.
If you know that it has to be all the way over here by the time you speak next, you're going to figure out a way to take a beat before you talk, you know. And so some actors enjoy getting deeper and deeper into their part, and like they can't be bothered with a mark on the floor if they're shadowing somebody. But for some reason, I've always really been excited about what all these guys and girls do. Like making this fake life is it's sneaky tough, and so I love being a part of those meetings too, like you were talking about. And you don't get any credit for the 95% of the work that it takes to just make it believable, to make sure that that light's not in the shot and this boom's not in it and this chair was picked, and from there, then it's got to spike, and that's the interesting part. But that scene in particular was simple because the writing was so good and all that stuff made sense, and you just have to say it in a believable way. What was difficult is that we had a lot to shoot that day, and it was all shot at night, and everybody's tired, and you just have to go in there fully prepared, like we were talking about before. That was one of the big eye-openers for me as a director, was how much of the film gets shot before you start principal photography. I mean, prep is fully immersive, and as actors, you know, you think, well, let's get going. When you show up on that first day, it's like, no, guy, we're done, and you just need to hit your mark and say your line for the next few weeks, and then we'll be finished.
Yeah.
I have a business opportunity that requires cash.
Sir, there's no business opportunities that require that much cash, not legal ones.
Well, I agree to disagree. Where's my money?
How do you think, you've been funny your whole life, I'm sure of it, but since you've been paid to be funny, have you noticed that it's changed at all? Have you changed your levels, your strategy on how you're going to make people laugh?
Not really. I mean, it's all kind of, I don't know, you know, it's like, it's intuitive. It's like a weird, like we're talking about directing. I think, you know, you were just saying, like, the reason I like prepping all that stuff is so you can get to a place where you can just go out and be intuitive and kind of go, well, I just want to try this and try that. And it's the same thing with comedy. I mean, I do think you sense like different generations of comedy, like certain things, you know, don't fly for, you know what I mean, for a, you know, you just can't make certain jokes, you know, which are probably good. Do you know what I mean?
Give me 3 jokes that you just can't make.
Okay, here we go. Goodbye, career. No, but you know, it's like a good example is like on, and it's a good thing. But you know, it's like we on I do Stefan on SNL, and we would say midget, and then we got a letter saying you can't say that.
Yeah.
You know, and we went, you're right. And so when we went and did that again, last time I did it when I hosted, we didn't say it, and I'm fine with that.
What
you
is
know?
the PC term? What is
little people.
Little people, yeah.
Yeah. So, and then, but I think that's, a lot of people bristle at that because they think you're saying I'm a jerk, or you're saying my instincts are wrong, or this is so lame and doesn't matter or whatever. And my thing was, I go, yeah, that matters to them, so why make them mad? I don't understand that. And also it is ignorant, because I didn't understand that. And I go, oh, now I understand.
Somebody gave me a lesson about that on Retard too. Like, you know, just Retard gets thrown around a lot, and you know, second you have kids, and you go through that process of the miracle first minute or 2 minutes when that kid comes out, and they just take them and they run these arbitrary tests about whether your kid can hear, you know, whether your kid can see, and you're going to take whatever answer they give you, and it's just such a miracle that every kid, or a lot of them, come out, you know, with 10 toes and fingers. I was like, oh, I get it. There's a million different words I can use in that moment. Yeah. And now when I read scripts, I'll give those notes to the writer. I'm like, can you pull this?
I find I get to the same place too, and they go, oh, you're being, you know. But I work at South Park sometimes, and those guys do it. They go, oh, let's not. They're known for being all, you know, whatever, and going against that, but it's not. It's
you can. It just takes a little more work to figure out how to do the same joke.
There's an empathy that you need. That there's more of a, I think, I think it's a good thing, but more of an empathy and good comedy right now. And also grounded stuff. I mean, that's the other thing is when I was younger, I always wanted to me, it was like Naked Gun, Airplane, the insane stuff. And I realized, one, how hard it is to pull that off and what those guys did by casting not just the real actors that you would see in those airport movies. And that was the genius of that. You go, oh, that's part of why that works.
The no winking.
The no winking and playing it totally straight. But it's Leslie Nielsen, it's not Steve Martin.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? And that's why it works. And you go, oh, wow. And then writing stuff, you just realize how hard it is to keep the grounded stuff is way harder. It's kind of what we were talking about before with performing, you know? It's like, oh, like in Trainwreck, it's going, well, Amy's a stand-up and she's doing all this really funny stuff. And LeBron James, if it's me and LeBron James, I have to make him look funny, and he is funny.
Right.
But if I'm trying to out-funny him, the thing doesn't work, you know? And that kind of goes into the comedy of Barry too, is we never sit there and outline or talk about a script in terms of jokes or comedy. You talk about it in terms of the story and the emotion and the logic, and then as you're writing the scene, you say, oh, what if he said this, and we all
Yeah,
laugh.
I noticed that there's not a lot of jokes in your show. What you guys are doing, for the most part, seem to be creating these characters that are deeply feeling, deeply flawed. They're all pretty broken, and you're putting them in situations where their dignity is getting exposed, and from there comes the humor. And so, you would think that those scripts, I'll bet, don't table that well. Like, there's not a lot of jokes. So,
well, if people read them and go, okay.
Like, we got to see the performance matched with this character-based comedy, and the combination of those two things. Only then will it be funny. And so it's risky to table scripts like that, right? Without writers.
A little bit. Those go okay. I do another show called Documentary Now. Those table awful because people are like, "What are we watching?" But it's okay. Like Henry Winkler at a table read will sell anything, and Darcy Carden, Kirby. You know, we have Ryder Doyle, Andy Carey. We have all these great actors who can sell stuff because you can get a comedy rhythm on a thing. But it's like we'll have it in the outline. Barry's unsure of himself, and Cousineau, Henry Winkler's character, says. He gives him an assignment, which is to do the Glengarry Glen Ross monologue. And so we go, okay, so he has to do that. You have to do Mammoth. That's all it says, and you get what Barry's emotion is, but as we're writing it, you come up with like, I'm gonna give you 10 cc's of Mammoth, and we all start laughing, and then it's like, let the cat out and all that. But that comes because you know the character,
right?
Instead of like, let's lead with a joke.
Right.
How does this make us better actors?
It loosens you up. Prepares you for the unexpected in a scene, gets you out of your head.
Jason,
Bill?
One of my favorite shows the last, ever was Arrested Development. How was it? How was it doing the show? How was that experience?
The best experience of my life, I think. I mean, it's certainly the most beneficial experience for my life, for my career. It was kind of a reset button for me. I was sort of...
Did you feel that when you read it, got it, going, this is going to be a thing for me?
Well,
or when did you go, oh my God?
Well, I kind of knew that what sort of career, what the position of my career was at the moment. I was just trying to get another job, trying to get a pilot, and right then, television comedy was kind of transitioning from multi-camera into single camera. Multi-camera had sort of gone out of fashion, and here comes this single camera show that was not only single camera, but it was sort of a mockumentary. So it was even more sort of deconstructed and like, we don't need any of the stink from you sitcom people. And so when I got an audition for that, I knew that was a big deal, and they probably don't want to see me, but somebody probably pulled a favor, and So I went in there very, very nervous and just hoping that I was guessing right with this character. And Mitch Hurwitz was really sweet to me, and
Great guy.
yeah, he's a nice guy. So he, and then like the dream scenario happened where he followed me out after I finished auditioning, and he said, "Hey, so you're supposed to come in for that other pilot I'm producing tomorrow, that multicam, but this, right?" And I said, "Yeah, I love this." He goes, "Yeah, don't come in for that thing tomorrow."
Oh, that's a good one. Oh, that's good.
So I got in my car, as I called my agent, I go, "I think we really did well."
Oh man, that's the best feeling in the world.
Yeah. So, but we really didn't know if that show was going to last. I mean, there was a cover sheet on the script that said any actors that are not interested in having their dressing rooms be a honey wagon, and there's no makeup, no hair, no lights, really no marks on the floor. It's going to be kind of a student film mockumentary type of style. So, so the agents I was with currently were like, "Yeah, you don't want to go in on that." But my old agent had called me, and she said, I noticed you weren't on the sheets for this thing, and I really think you'd be good for this. Tell your current agents to get you in there." So her name's Lee Burlstein. She did a really, really good favor for me there with telling me about that. But yeah, we thought it was just going to be a really cool thing, but not really last. And it didn't really last, and it was a cool thing. And thankfully, the people in Hollywood watched it and then gave me
When
work
did you
afterwards.
feel though that was the was there a moment that you can go,
When we,
oh, this helped me?
Yeah, when we got a Golden Globe nomination, that was big, because I think we were pretty close to getting chopped by Fox, and then we got that nomination, and they were like, "Damn it, we got to keep him on." And then we got an Emmy nomination, and then we won that, and then we're like,
Wow, we want to get rid of you guys. So bad.
yeah. It still only lasted 2.5 years. I think it was 2.5, 3.5.
But it ruled. I mean, where I was at with, that was right when you guys premieres when I started SNL, and that was all we talked about. Was like, did you see? It was like, I don't know, being a musician in the '60s and Sgt. Pepper coming out or something. Everybody just goes, well, now we have to change everything that we were thinking about.
Jeffrey Tambor, I think, was a really, really, really big, but for me, he was a huge part of that. I remember he had the first scene of the first episode, first day, and he had this monologue, and we were all off camera. Coverage was on him first, and it was the first time many of us seen what was the tone of the show going to be, because we didn't do a table read, or if we did it, we couldn't really tell what the tone was. And watching him do what he does so incredibly well, which is that no winking thing, I thought, oh, so we don't have to throw to the back row in this show. This isn't a sitcom with an audience. It's
they'll see it.
Yeah, it's not funny to any of these characters.
Yeah.
This is deadly serious. And I thought, that's what this funny is.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. Speaking of SNL, when you just recently hosted, was it? I'm sure it was a blast to host. But the one time I was lucky enough, it was like the best week of my life hosting. I thought, this is the best job in the world.
Yeah.
I would love to be a part of this cast every week doing this. Did you feel that going back? That it's something that you really missed, or?
Well, oddly enough, the week you hosted, I don't know if you know this, the Tuesday night of that writing night was the night they saw me. That was the night that I did a show in New York.
No way.
And Lorne Michaels and Tina Fey and Amy Poehler and Seth Meyers came to the UCB Theater to watch me do a show.
Really?
And they go, we got to get back because Jason Bateman's hosting. And we were like, oh, wow, what's that like? You know, I mean,
He's a dick.
yeah, they went, we got to go save this one. No, but I was, like, wow, they're hosting. But that was the week that they saw me, and then, but it was fun, it's a fun experience. Going back is weird. It's like going, everything is true. It's like going back to high school, or, and you're like, oh, the lockers are different now. And, oh, this classroom it's not classroom anymore. Wait, what is the, you know what I mean? It just feels different there.
It's so impressive.
But they just do a great job, and I love the current cast. And it's just weird. It's like, I remember Kate McKinnon auditioned, and I laughed during her audition, which you're not supposed to laugh, but I went in the back, and they went, try not to laugh,
Why are you not supposed to laugh?
I don't know. They like it if you don't laugh, but they laughed during mine. Tina Fey laughed during my audition. But I don't know if it's a spoken rule or whatever, but it's...
Do they let you know that before you start your audition? Like, don't be surprised if you don't make anybody laugh?
No, you start out, and I remember when I
That's
auditioned,
terrifying.
a buddy of mine went out before, and he came back, and he went, I could hear myself walking around up there. It was terrible. And I went out and I auditioned, and I introduced myself, and I go, this is a character named Vinny Vedecci, and I just immediately started doing the, and Tina Fey, who I could see him, it went, ha! Like that, and I went, oh, okay, good, and I relaxed.
Right.
But Kate McKinnon, just watching her come out all nervous, and she did Temple Grandin at the Emmys, trying to get a word in as they were doing the acceptance speech. She's like, the story was based on my, I'm sorry, okay. It was based on my life. Oh, sorry, you know. And it was one of the funniest things I had ever seen, and I started laughing so hard that they were like, you have to leave.
The last time you come to audition?
Yeah, the last time, we'll get Bill out of here, he's laughing too hard. But seeing those people now are the seniors and running the show is so interesting to me. I remember Kate was someone kind of going like, hey, you know, Cecily Strong, you know, Vanessa Bayer and all these people. I remember coming in all, hey, how's it going or whatever. Now they're the stars.
But the
you know.
crew of that too, the infrastructure of that, the way that you guys don't really lock what you're going to do until Thursday?
We don't lock. I didn't know what my monologue was until about 5 minutes before we went out there.
But the sketches themselves, in other words, their ability to prop those things and build those sets is like 24, 48 hours.
Yeah, like sometimes less. We would do sketches sometimes on a Friday night and go have a meeting with Lauren, and he'd be like, "It's not working. Maybe instead of a you know, a pirate ship, it should be a spaceship. Go make it work." And
right.
they would
and build wigs for that.
Yeah, I mean, I remember I was again Vinny Vedecci sketch. We had a ostrich in it, puppet, and we went, "Hey, instead of an ostrich puppet, can it be like a big mechanical horse?" Like a horse that goes like this, and they go, okay. And they made it happen in about 30 minutes, and it looked great. But no, my monologue, we were talking about my monologue as the audience was loading in, and Lauren's going, maybe it's about I'm happy to be back, and you know, he's kind of ruminating about it, and I'm going, I'm gonna throw up.
Right.
Can we please do this? And he goes, when in doubt, talk about your kids. And if you watch it, that's what I do. I start talking. Well, because the cue cards ran out. The guy was doing the thing, and then there was no more cue cards because Mike Coleman, the writer, came up as I'm getting ready, and you know, they're like, you know, Saturday Night Live, and I'm putting the thing on, getting ready, about to go out. They got the stopwatch. They're looking at me, and he's going, I think I got everything on the cue cards for the monologue, but if you don't, Lauren said, talk about your kids. He wrote out. So if you see it, the cue cards, Wally, the cue cards went out, and he just went. And I go, I just want to say hi to my kids. I want to say.